Hello everyone, I'm going to introduce cell cultivation for food production. And when we call cell cultivation, this means that the growing microorganisms or organisms into reactors to produce alternative proteins. And also, alternative protein may also include plant-based like grains or some kind of uh, leafy material, leafy plants or maybe nuts or whatever actually has some kind of protein, high content of protein. And also this is what we are going to talk about today is maybe some kind of algae or maybe some kind of yeast or fungi. In reality, yeast is part of the fungi kingdom. Kingdom, and for that, basically, the alternative, what we are going to talk about today is the cell cultivation. And also, the alternative protein may include other things like insects or whatever that has high protein content. And also, as people know that mushrooms and yeast has been used for centuries, either for uh, direct consumption or maybe also can be processed into other products that can be used as food. In theory, cell cultivation uh, can offer some benefit for consumers and environment. However, this kind of effect on environment may be also not really well understood because of several things uh, uh, that production of these cells depend on the agriculture for producing the source of raw materials that can be used for cultivation. For example, if you are talking about cultivating fungi or yeast on sugars, you may actually go back to get plant-based sugars, basically, or maybe you can actually use agricultural residues or maybe uh, food processing byproduct to produce this kind of organism as protein-rich material for human consumption. And also, again, this environmental impact may be actually questionable depending on what you are producing and also at what conditions, basically, because sometimes actually can produce maybe protein with a lot of inputs. Basically, in this case, it doesn't actually justify uh, the production of this cell cultivated material compared with conventional meat, for example, or this kind of animal meat. And also, again, this kind of bioreactors, for example, they may need actually some kind of high energy input, which can be also affecting the greenhouse gas and affect the environmental footprint of this kind of cell cultivated food. Again, if we look at the production stages of this uh, cell-based proteins, is they can have a lot of actual stages. Among them is cultivation, of course, and how to go from seed culture to activate them, and then cell cultivation, and then harvesting. Basically, you go from some cells to large scale systems that can produce mass production of these materials. And after that, this material can be dried out, or maybe you can extract some kind of ingredient or some kind of active material that can be or component for fortifying maybe plant-based. If you, for example, if there are some plant-based protein that are deficient in some essential proteins, you may actually use a protein from yeast or from algae to compensate for this kind of deficiency. After that, maybe also you can use this material after drying to produce textured material like extrusion or coating material, or maybe also some kind of thermal processes, basically to produce some kind of product. Or you can actually also use 3D printing and producing products that actually designed as alternative protein. Again, all of this actually processes will use energy, and no one actually can say this is a good alternative or this bad alternative, and until actually life cycle analysis or maybe some other environmental impact analysis should be done for this cell production. Again, this product can be also produced in different form, like this kind of capsules or maybe powder or maybe just a color material, or maybe also can be added as or be used as snacks or maybe alternative meat. Again, alternative meat is actually a term that should be we should be careful actually to use this kind of alternative meat, because in reality meat is meat basically. This basically other alternative, you can actually say alternative proteins, but in reality the meat is meat. So or animal based meat. Again, to evaluate this kind of product, you need to evaluate the economics, of course, and economics is very important because you can actually produce anything, but the cost will be a limiting factor for people to use. And the environmental impact, as I mentioned, something like life cycle analysis may actually also be needed to justify the production of this cell culture or cell cultured material food. However, actually, if you use maybe cheap material that or maybe this kind of byproduct may justify actually the saving in the carbon footprint. Again, also very important actually the customer acceptance. This is very important because basically you can produce everything without actually uh, 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 carbon footprint or maybe very low carbon footprint cell material, but the customer actually don't like. So basically you can find the people still don't actually eat this kind of alternative meat or alternative protein, and this kind of customer actually acceptance you can't actually change. So in this case, you don't have to actually force people to use this kind of cell cultivated material. Rather than actually you can say, okay, this is alternative here. Whoever actually prefer you, they can eat either meat or animal meat or maybe this kind of alternative protein. Again, the customer is a limiting factor, their actually attitude or their actually preference for different foods they eat. With that, I would like to thank you, and if you have any comment, just send it to me through this email, and see you next time.